are live now. So, good evening and welcome to episode number 3 of Wisdom Seed Higher Self Battle Room. So, our theme tonight is ego detox and soul upgrade. Now, why this topic was there? This is a topic which is a next installment to our higher self battle room that we have been pursuing from past two episodes, and we are diving deep into what really drives our emotional triggers, personal drama at work, and how we can go beyond them. So that is what the today's theme is. And hi, my name is Abhijit Jagtap. I'm a founder of Wisdom Seed. This series all is all about talking real breakthroughs of professional, real professionalism. So today we're going to have a powerful panel with us who is going to discuss and demystify this particular topic to a level that we can able to observe what are the techniques that comes when we are going to have a ego detox as well as soul upgrade. So first, we have our guest with us is Miss Nisha Pramod. She's a founder of Basil Learning Center. She's a master trainer, and she has been a kind of a star sharer in our last episode. And she is well known for how to ground people with emotional intelligence and body awareness. She also brings tools to reconnect with self in chaos. So
Thank
that's
you.
her forte. And secondly, we have Dharshani Shivakumar. She is a founder of DS Image Consultant. She is an NLP master practitioner. She's also a TEDx speaker. Her approach integrates mindset, communication, and deep self work to help people step into their authentic personal power. So we have these two panel members who have a varied experience into the level of human mindset development through communication and different coaching techniques. We also have Edwin Jewel, who would be joining shortly to our panel. But with that particular point said, Edwin is also a powerhouse of, when it comes to contributing toward this kind of understanding. But today we're going to start with our first guest, and I would like to invite uh, Dharshani Shivakumar to take the first section, the art of detachment for growth. So that is the first nail in the coffin of ego when it comes to ego, detoxification. And the first thing that I want to ask Darshini is like, what do you understand? Like, what is your detachment? Is it different or is it clarity? What do you understand by that question? Definitely, she will talk about herself first, and then she can answer this question. Over to you,
Well,
Darshini.
thank you for the warm and a wonderful, crisp introduction. And good evening, everyone, whoever is watching live along with us. So, you know, I first of all, I love the topic, what was being chosen as a theme for, today's discussion.
Right.
Firstly, when I have to talk about detachment, many of us gets detached with materialistic things or in different in using different things, or it can be materials, or it can be people, or it can be various things. For different people it's different things,
Right.
and we get detached, and sometimes it reaches to a point where we are unable to live without it.
Hmm.
Say, for a simple example, the gadgets which we use, we
Hmm.
find many individuals, if there is no internet or if there's a power shutdown, they're unable to, they feel as if they've lost their life just because that one thing is not there.
Right.
And like many of us know, or many of us have said this, that nothing is permanent.
Very true.
We have to be detached, attached kind of a style which we have to be.
Hmm. Hmm. True.
Because, and after a point, it becomes like an addiction.
True. True.
And, there's a common thing which I want to bring things into light is that, uh, you know, we have this, many of us have this mindset that I know everything in the room.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think first we need to break that and become a learner, because each one of us is
Hmm.
a learner and we learn out of experience. We tend to make mistakes. We tend to, get into trial and error, which we learn.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think for me, as an individual, as a trainer or a coach, first I have to become in that mindset where, okay, I am a learner. At every step I learn. If we think that I am, I know everything in the room, maybe you're not in the right place. Which is my perspective. This is my take on this, because when I personally feel when ego steps in, then you know it's like your ego takes over, and that's a small line of difference between ego and self-respect, or ego and different emotions or different factors for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that I turns to we, that's a difference.
True.
It's also the usage of words also which plays an important role.
Mm.
When I say, where it becomes I, when we use a lot of I, it's your ego which is taking over.
True.
Rather, for any success in any environment, it is a team, it is a group, or it is an organization's, a combined effort which takes you to that success stage. It's not I there.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a big difference.
Right. Right. So I think it's very, I think simply put, I think this can't be more simply put in terms of how detachment works with you. But I think it is more about, when you start making this as a practice, because it is something we say it, but it doesn't sink in as we, unconsciously move towards our life. We have to have a kind of a ritual that I've always been talking about in our past sessions as well, that what kind of ritual you follow for detachment. So every night, are you getting into a habit of having a self-reflection questions which are there? And definitely what I have done is I have also prepared a kind of an ego detox reflection tools and worksheet for all these listeners who are going to stay with us till the end of this particular podcast. So for them, it would be kind of a ready reckoner, a tool which they can utilize right away from today itself. And as I was talking about the ritual, what kind of questions that you ask every time towards yourself, like how overly you identify with your role. That is also important. That gives a fuel to ego. And I would always say that ego is not bad altogether. It is that overindulgence with the ego and the identity is the main issue. If you overindulge yourself with any role, any title, any prescribed title or a victim card that you play with yourself, if you attach yourself with that, that is the issue. That is what detachment talks about. And it is a practice. We can't have one session that, okay, I you have to be detached, and then you would be like, okay, I would be detached now. There won't be any detachment. The detachment would happen with understanding what is the real value that you carry. As you rightly said, Darshini, that what kind of value you bring in. So, are there any value set that you have attached, or is there any kind of a value that you see in yourself that defines yourself rather than the ego? So, can you just give me a little bit of idea of that?
uh, you know, Couple of values which wherever I go, wherever I am, this is something which I carry with myself. That one is adaptability.
Hmm. Hmm.
In
Hmm.
whichever situation I am, in whichever,
Hmm.
wherever I am, with which what kind of people I am,
Hmm.
first becoming aware and understanding your environment where you are plays an important factor or
Hmm.
a role in your development or in that organization's development.
Hmm. Hmm.
One is adaptability. Your
Right.
second point is your flexibility.
True. Hmm.
Along with that which comes openness. How open or how flexible are you in learning things or
Hmm. Hmm.
understanding things, or not even accepting, at least have that open mind. Okay, there is something always new which I have to learn, which I'll have to understand. It comes with these two factors, or these two um, I would say a behavior or a mindset which we need to start, you know, cultivating or
Hmm.
seeding in our minds.
Hmm. True.
Because, at least in the industry where I am in right now, it requires a lot of
Hmm.
flexibility flexibility, adaptability, open mind, because people or individual will come with different years of experience,
mm,
different background, different culture.
mm,
So unless if you don't have that open mind and that adaptability, flexibility, because these are all interconnected.
true.
In some way or the other, it is interconnected.
Mm,
So today we have Nisha ma'am who has joined us along with us. She might be from a different city. Only
mm,
if I, as an individual, have an open mind, I will be able to collaborate or help her as an individual in her field of work.
right.
Say, even if I have to refer someone to her, I should not be referring anyone, whoever comes in my way to her, because
Mm,
there my respect or face of mine will get damaged.
mm, mm,
Who is pretty much knowledgeable, who has pretty good hold of the field and the knowledge or the topic, which, if it's a trainer or a coach who's taking over, has to have that, you know, knowledge or that awareness in them.
mm,
Can be a small act of referring someone.
mm,
It creates a ripple effect or
mm,
different effects which we call these days ripple effect or placebo effect. It can be,
true.
it
Mm,
can be, but
mm,
that I always say to my clients or wherever I go is that values according to you,
mm,
not to the
mm,
other person.
mm,
Today I'm giving out the value of flexibility, adaptability, open
mm,
mind, openness. Nisha ma'am will have a different take on this.
mm, mm, true.
But respecting that, okay,
Mm,
there is something more than this what I need to know.
mm,
So these are the three values which I would like to give out is one is your adaptability, flexibility, and openness
mm,
in anything.
true. Yeah, I think you have really made one point very clear that we have identity layers that we have. Okay, there are a lot of identity layers that we put ourselves through. Like we stop asking ourselves this question, like who I am beyond those roles and looks. Okay, most of our ego is attached to the way we look. That is also one of the major issue that we have. And because we are living in a social media environment where comparison and making yourself a picture perfect personality, that is what is the new culture is, and where the line blurs. Okay, even if you like a certain filter, it also talks to you in terms of what kind of ego you have with you, right? Like, because you would only choose that filter, depending upon the complexion, you would make sure that you have a filter which makes you more fairer. Okay. Or if you are like influenced by Korean drama, you would always choose any kind of filter which makes your skin look like plastic. So there are a lot many things that you have in, identity layering that we do. And that also has very different complexity and behavior that comes. Wherein value do come in play, but as I told earlier, that if you're not following it up every day, if you're not able to see in how this particular thing works. So there are certain techniques, and I want to know from you, as we have done our NLP master practitioner, and there is a self-worth reprogramming using NLP. So is there any kind of a technique that you can talk about, which gives you a little bit of glimpse of identify those layering that we have, and we can break through those particular layerings.
Okay. Here, it's not exactly a technique, or it can be a mindset, or it can be kind of
Mm-hmm.
a sense of what we know.
Mm-hmm.
If you have noticed, this is for the audience who is listening to this now or later.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first step it starts with understanding and becoming aware of your own self talk.
Mm-hmm. True.
Anything, let it be career, let it be personal, let it be in your social, or let it be in your financial, or your the money mind, or it can be in any mindset, in any vertical, or in any factors which you take up.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a self talk? Because see, today I can just give a technique and I can go, but any transformation, let it be on an individual level, let it be on a professional level, it starts with self-awareness.
True.
Because there's a difference between having a skill set and having a competency.
Mm. Mm.
Both are two different things.
Right.
Just understanding what is your strength, what is your weakness,
Mm.
how will you identify this?
Mm.
The more you put yourself into situations, the more you put yourself into
Mm.
activities, not
Mm.
thinking of the outcome.
Mm. Mm.
Give it your try.
Mm.
Until you give it your try, you can't, you don't know who you are.
True.
Many of today, if you ask someone who comes across to you that who am I or who are you, there'll be no answer, or it might become a thought-provoking question for them.
Mm. Mm.
First, understanding who yourself as an individual,
Mm.
then understanding, what is your threshold point or what is your saturation point in terms of your emotions, because it's not just your IQ, it's also EQ plays a vital role.
True.
Understanding your different behavior patterns and different emotions on a scale on from a low intensity to an high intensity scale.
Mm.
Understanding this also plays a vital role.
Mm.
It is according to my
Mm.
experience and my
Mm.
this thing
Mm.
for different situations,
Mm.
because Nisha ma'am will have a different saturation or different
Mm.
threshold point when
Mm.
it comes to
Mm.
her emotional level. Say
Very
for me
true.
it might be a 3 or 4, for her
Mm.
it might be 5 or 6, we never
True.
know.
Right.
So the simple activity for this is your to start with your breath work.
Mm. Mm.
Basically nothing but just
Mm.
either in the morning or in the evening or
Mm.
whenever the time
Mm.
suits you, just sit with your eyes closed, focusing on your breathing
Mm.
pattern.
Mm. True. True.
Because with any emotion, your breath is your first thing what changes.
True. Very true.
Until you do something consistently, only you
Mm.
will know the difference.
Mm.
Because no, none of these techniques which I'm gonna tell you right now, maybe it will be 3 or 4 techniques.
Mm.
Until you practice it consistently, you will not feel the difference.
Mm. Mm. So I
Because
think.
many of us
Mm.
have this
Mm. Mm.
mindset that
Mm.
I want that immediate result, which doesn't happen
True.
overnight.
It, I think Darshini, what you have done now, you have actually peeled the onion to the next level when we were talking about this particular part, and you very rightly said that yes, the internal dialogues that we have, that is very crucial when it comes to when we are detaching ourselves, when we are over identifying self and understanding that how deep this rabbit hole goes. Okay. So there are certain kind of technique that I usually give to my client is mirror talking instructions. Now it's very hard to do it initially when you are doing this particular practice, because you have to stand in front of the mirror and you have to actually talk to yourself. Or I also give them one activity called as empty chair technique. So what
Ah,
they have to do is like they have to put an empty chair in front of them. They have to sit in front of that chair and they have to talk, to that particular chair as a person is sitting in front of them. Or maybe in certain situations, people also give them that you are talking to your older self or a younger self. Now these are like this is the same thing that we do when we are playing chess and we have only one single player who is playing both side. When you are on another side, you think in that particular side, and when you're on another side, you think in that particular side. It gives you a very different perspective. And definitely, as you said, with our dialogues, the perception is built and it is mentored. So I would like to give our listener one this particular technique that you can have, and definitely this is a downloadable PDF that I would be sharing at the end of the session. The mirror talk instruction. So it is simply that you're just talking to yourself that I am not just my job role, my looks, my past, because we are somewhere attach and cling to this particular part, that is my job, my looks and my past. Okay. So anything that is there. Okay. I allow to grow beyond old labels. Now, one thing that you have to detach first, then you have to create a space where you can make sure that the growth is there. So before, like any farmer who is placing a seed into the soil, it would always make sure that the boulders or any kind of other plants are not there, and then you would plant seed. Same thing happens with your mind as well. You have to first of all identify what your negativity is. Then you have to allow a safe environment about this level. And even if no one is validating me, I choose to respect myself.
Exactly.
Very simple, but very hard to internalize it. Because I think every person on this earth, almost, who is stressed, who is I think distorted his self-image because of ego, very few of them actually don't do it for validity. All of them do it for validation from others. And we are become psychotically ill in terms of how social media is putting this particular illness of self validation by putting photos. Means I'm not saying that I'm totally immune for that particular kind of a thing. I also do certain things, but I don't go haphazardly, or I just post certain things and I just go on checking that how many people have liked, how many people have commented. I do it for the sake of just having a fun. Yeah, if you can tell me, like 10 years back, what were you doing in that particular part? Yeah, I was fanatic. I was cynical about it. I used to check it so rigorous, like who have seen my status, who have liked my photographs, who have commented, what kind of involvement that I have. And that actually gives you one, if the comments are good and if there are a lot of, like, you have a positive ego. If it is like lesser involvement or engagement, then you have a negative ego. And both of the egos have a different ball game altogether. And you rightly said that that onion goes one layer deeper when you say that what is the self-talk, what are the different identification that is there. So that is there. So if you're listening right now, you can have these three questions. I am not like, you can have a mirror talk, you can have an empty chair talk, and these are the three questions that you can have, as what I've mentioned earlier. I can also provide the PDF altogether. And there is one more thing that very few of us do is journaling. Very few of us are doing journaling right now. I think if 15 minutes of your time, rather than doom scrolling on Instagram, if you journal, like what are the label do I cling to for safety? Like, this is one of the biggest cling that I have. Well, this is the biggest prompt that I always do in my journal. That which identity I feel safer. It might be of victim. It might be something about, maybe victim, maybe cringing for somebody else, which actually, make your ego empowered. Like the kind of cringe content that we watch is nothing but we are empowering our egos, because we say that we are not that lower level people, because we don't do those kind of a thing. Okay, so that also is an identity. So you have to see what labels do I cling for to or for safety. Which are the labels that I cling? Then saying second thing is like, what belief about myself need as upgrade? What are the beliefs that have to upgrade so that the ego can be detached altogether? Okay. Then the third is like, how would I show up if I didn't fear judgment? So these are the three prompts that you can go through, which can make your reflection about your ego detachment relationship, or your self and ego attachments here. A kind of a entire gamut that you can show up. So that would be shown in there. So that is what I want to give to this particular is this section, which Dharshani has put it in a very beautifully manner, and I was able to build up on that because of what you have actually put in front of us. So thank you so much, Dharshani, for this particular section. I'm really loving that particular input from you, and definitely most of our listeners who are listening right now have benefited from this.
Just to
Yeah,
add to what
yeah,
you
yeah.
were saying, sorry to interrupt.
No, issue. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, there's another
Yeah.
thing which you do with any activity or with any task is
Hmm.
there's something called the Cartesian questions.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is also another thing which has helped me a lot
Hmm. Hmm.
to keep going with the activities, my goals. Let it be personal, let it be career front, let it be professional, anything. This is one segment which has helped me a lot because if you are an entrepreneur after your graduation, after your studies, if you're starting out something of your own, you know having that accountability, having that self commitment, it takes a lot of courage to have that. So
Mm.
when you don't have an accountability partner, or if you're not accountable to someone, you tend to procrastinate, you tend to, we'll do it later kind of a thing comes in, which will
Mm.
affect your professionalism as an individual in your work in
Mm.
every way possible. It starts affecting you and your, the audience or your customers or your clients who's getting affected because of which.
True.
Just a delay from you can cause a lot of negative as well, negative effects, especially.
Mm. Mm.
Very simple example. There are times, many a times, where we start declining calls.
Mm.
Very simple act, but we
Mm.
never know, especially if it's a call from your loved one.
Mm.
If
Mm.
if if at least have the courtesy of picking your phone and telling them either you're on a call or you're busy with something. Ask them if it is anything urgent.
True.
Because what happens is later, due to some unfortunate or unseen situations, we start regretting this.
Mm. True.
Then we can't sit and cry over it.
True. True. Yeah, that is very classic example of social ostracism, or we actually deny the entire interaction that is there with social interaction. Why? Because we start over judging ourselves or over identifying ourselves with such a kind of a mindset,
Hmm.
which make us shamed. We are ashamed to put ourselves or to voice or make ourselves visible. That is called as in psychology to make yourself visible. And a lot my client also who are into their 40s or midlife crisis, who usually don't pull themselves into social media just for the sake of that if I'm visible I would be judged. Okay. And visibility causes judgment. That's fine. Means I think one, if you are able to uh, just leap beyond judgment, you are able to achieve whatever you want to achieve in terms of expression, creativity, and what kind of work that you have to really do, what matters to you, because that is the final test. How much of you are passionate enough to put your message across and being visible, and then also getting the criticism, and then also doing and continuing the same thing with the same passion without declining it. But I think this is where you have to build a resilience. We are someone, people become resilient as you practice more. So when you said that, okay, this is what we have to do, but the ritual has to be established. Just like our physical body health and strength and endurance, I think mental resilience is also important by the clarity that you gain every day. True.
Because today, you know, uh, even as simple as handling grief is not taught. Somewhere we have to learn it ourselves through different methods or in a very hard way, which many a times we find it very difficult.
Hmm.
Small things, but then I just don't want to give out the creamy layer of the cake and forget the process of making the cake.
True. Hmm.
See, today I can just tell the creamy layer of it, but if you until you realize the hard truth, it's very
Hmm.
difficult to accept.
Hmm. True.
Because
Very
when you're
true.
not accepting only, it goes to
Hmm.
anger, denial, all these stages of grief or whatever we call it as.
Hmm. Great. Great. I think,
And we
yeah.
need to commit, if we have to, commit to ourselves to something,
Hmm.
instead of seeking for validation or instead of seeking to someone else, let's
Hmm.
commit to ourselves because you can lie to the world. You cannot lie to
Hmm.
yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, true.
You cannot.
That's true.
Say, for
That's true.
example,
Hmm.
we commit for a habit to ourselves.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there's nobody to ask, have you done it? The
Hmm.
second day we are out.
True. Very true.
It's like taking New Year resolutions and not following it. But if you want to change something, this is a out of experience I'm saying this. If you want to change something, start now if you can, or
Hmm.
whenever you are going to encounter the same
Hmm.
thing again
Hmm.
the next day.
Hmm. And I think it's really important what you have said, because if you look at the events that are happening around, okay, how uncertain life is, how fragile our entire sense of security is. Okay, we feel that everything is going to be permanent. Our life is going to be permanent. Tomorrow we're going to get up and do our work,
A
or we
very
will get an
simple.
opportunity for next 1 year. And that was the same ideas which unfortunate event that has happened with Air India, the crash that
Exactly.
was happened. And there are a lot many things like Pulwama attack is there, or any terrorist attack that is happening across the world, and you see how fragile, or the how balanced, how critically we are balanced ourselves, right? So this is a kind of a wake up call for whoever is listening, and who is postponing what is reality, what really I have to do, and is afraid of not doing it. I would suggest them expose yourself at least 10% every day. Okay, if you are someone who want to give a message on social media, record it on your mobile phone. Don't post it. That is what you can do, right? Just post it. Like, just record yourself. Just see yourself, even if you don't like it. It's okay. And I always see myself in that particular part is that we are so much absorbed in our own mentality that we are not able to see those particular things. So, Darshini, I think that was a very good wrap up when we talked about detachment, how to identify layers, how to get into different kind of rituals that are there, what is the mindset that is there, and how we can see the impermanence that is there into our life, and how to accept that. So, very beautifully put, Darshini. And I'm so thankful that detachment is power move that every person has to take right now. And for audience, what identity batch that you have right now, or you have put yourself into, just put down that tonight by the question that I have given to you. Okay, great. So thank you, Darshini, for that particular powerful message that you have given on your section. So I would just move to the next section, to our next speaker. And Nisha, thank you so
Yeah,
much for
good evening,
joining.
Abhay.
Good evening. And I would like to welcome Edwin as well. Thank you, Edwin, for joining.
Good evening,
All right.
Abhay.
Good
Okay.
evening, team. Yeah.
Okay. So, so Nisha, I know that and we have talked in our past session about what was your journey and how you have come across that. And for you, the question remains. And what I've always felt from your personality is the emotional maturity in action. Okay, because
Yeah.
that is something that I've always seen into your adversity story. So when you look at maturity, is it reacting less, or is it choosing better?
Yeah. Um, Thank you, Abhay, for the question. And that was a wonderful talk by Dharshani we had just now.
Yeah.
She has touched upon many things which I intend to
Hmm.
share here. However, coming back to your question about emotional maturity, and is reacting a better option or reacting less a better option? Am I right? The question could be uh,
Majority, is it like reacting less,
less
or is it choosing better? Like
choosing
what?
better.
Yeah. Okay. So
Correct.
I want your take on this.
Yes.
Hmm.
So before even entering into that, I would like the audience to have a self check on what is emotional immaturity first.
Hmm.
Rather than talking about what is emotional maturity, let's
Right.
see certain examples where we display emotional immaturity.
Hmm.
Like in our personal lives, when we are talking about, right, uh, many of us have this tendency to blame others when things go wrong. Like, no, you would have taken up things at your stride. You would have taken the decision to do that particular task or a process you would have undergone. But when it turns out when the result is not what you anticipated,
Hmm. Hmm.
the instant reaction or the instant expression would be to blame others or
Hmm.
people who are somewhere attached to that.
True.
So I would say like this is one area in which we display knowingly, consciously, or subconsciously our emotional immaturity.
Hmm.
So I would want to quote a few more examples so that we can come back to it and align ourselves a better way.
Surely.
Another example, what I would like to discuss here is always seeking validation from others. Like I
Hmm.
do something, just you were talking about your past 10 years
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
how you would want to post something and
Right.
immediately get reaction. So it's like you have crossed that now.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
means that is the a streak of emotional immaturity which you have outgrown,
Hmm.
and you have reached a maturity level in that area,
Hmm.
isn't it? So it did not occur on a fine morning. You
Hmm.
had to
Hmm.
work through it. Like you had to constantly tell your mind, it's not a great thing
Right.
that I have to get up and instantly walk, look at it and you
Hmm.
know, feel satisfied. So
Hmm.
it happens even within our household. Like when we cook some delicious food, we immediately want a certification for that.
Right.
Or we bring something for our kids, and we want the kids to be over grateful for what they have received, and put us on another pedestal. Why always, even if you have the habit of um, uh, throwing a coin to a beggar every day on a daily
Hmm.
basis,
Hmm. Hmm.
from Monday to Saturday, and Sunday you do not do that, and he does not give you the respect what he gives on all the 6 days, you get
Hmm.
disturbed.
Hmm.
Array, every day I'm giving him, and still he does not acknowledge me one day when I have not given. So that
Hmm.
much is our mind
Hmm.
so immature, or our feeling so immature that we seek validation even from a
Hmm.
person who is
Hmm.
uh, waiting for our um,
Hmm.
hand to have a daily bread.
Right.
So another area where we could see is uh, finding fault with everything which is happening around.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
no, criticize on everything rather than seeing positivity behind it, like criticizing everything.
Hmm.
So, um, like, how do we overcome that? Criticizing is also a streak of immaturity. For
Hmm.
example, um, you do not basically you become a critic when you are not directly telling someone something. You have
Right.
had some instance in the morning,
Hmm.
something which you did not like with your spouse or with your kids or with some colleague,
Hmm.
and you carry that all day along, and
Hmm.
when you get a next chance, you
Hmm.
put it across indirectly, your
Hmm.
anger, and the
Hmm.
person would not even know why you are behaving in that manner, but
Right.
you suddenly, all of a sudden, in your mind, the perception of the person changes and you start
Hmm.
behaving in a different
Hmm.
way. This
True.
is also this one, a sort of immature behaviorism.
Yeah,
So coming down to this,
I would like
yeah,
to add one thing, Nisha. You
yeah,
have really, pointed to a one sentence that has stuck with me
mm,
a lot. That the person who complains about anything in his life uh, already knows what has to be done. Okay,
yes, yes,
he knows what to be done, but he's not doing it just
no,
because of a number of reasons. Might be
yes,
because of self-image, because of certain kind of personal, benefits that by not doing it. Like,
yes,
if you have a boss and he says something wrong and we're not, pointing it out. It's
yeah,
just for your own thing, but you know what to be done, but you're not
yes,
doing it. And then what you do, you have a negative aggression that you do. Okay,
very true.
that becomes a inner critic.
Yes,
Anything that we know that we can't solve, it is out of our control, we accept it.
same, yeah,
Like if it is raining,
yeah,
we can't do anything. We can only do one thing. We can wear a raincoat or we can
right.
stay wherever you
Get
are.
drenched, yeah,
Right? We accept it. And when we are complaining, it means that we know what to be done, but we are not doing it.
yes,
That is the only thing that criticism is been, looked into. What stuck with me, with my, understanding about when you over criticize something.
yes,
Some
very
part of
true.
you don't want to take action. Some part of
Yes,
you is afraid of taking action. So what is safe thing? It's better to judge
better
rather
to
than
judge.
to think.
Very
Okay.
true, very true.
So judging is very natural to us. Okay. Whenever we see, we judge people so quickly rather than thinking why it has been done, why
Yes,
I'm thinking this way,
yeah,
because it's far more efforts than
very
judgment.
true.
Judgment, it becomes very easy.
Very,
It's a kind of a, snack. It's a kind of a junk food for our minds. And
yeah.
that comes naturally to us.
And also we love doing
Yeah, we love to have that.
that. Yeah,
Okay. So, coming to that particular point that I just broke your streak in
yeah,
between, but
no problem.
one thing that
Yeah,
made me, wonder when you're talking about all these things. So, when you talk about, emotional maturity, and some people usually practice this particular part where they show false calmness
yeah,
versus real maturity. Okay,
mm,
what's the difference? So there is a false
mm,
calmness that is there.
yeah,
Can you just identify that? Because it is really related to, emotional maturity as well.
correct, correct. I
Hmm.
was coming to that.
Hmm.
One other example I would quote and come to that.
Hmm.
See, all this, whatever was listing till now, it's like somewhere the negative streak is visible. Like whether you're criticizing or you're throwing tantrums or you're like judging others, somewhere it is like we are in a bad light in front of
Hmm.
others. Okay? There is another streak which is not, which does not contain any of this. That is over idolizing people or
True.
over no over valuing others than us. Like we feel sometimes the person whom we are talking to is much more intelligent, much more you know better, and he can do anything or she
Yeah.
is capable of doing.
We
So
call them
what
people
happens?
pleasers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but and we blindly start following whatever they do,
Right.
uh, whether it suits us or not. Like
Hmm.
I once, one of my mentors used this example, which I really love. The choker, which comes, no, choker necklace. I don't know if you are aware. Women wear for the wear, especially during the festive occasion. It's
Hmm.
a huge necklace which completely covers the neck.
All
So
right.
it is the model who is using it is like a person who is very tall with a long neck and like somebody like Deepika Padukone and people like that. So a person whose neck is very short wearing the choker, just by looking at the model, okay, it would suit me also. It would really look funny because the neck is not at all seen and you're somewhat you're crushed in between the necks. It is a very funny thing for others to look at.
True.
So rather than understanding whether it is suiting you or not, you just blindly follow others, and that is
Hmm.
also emotional immaturity.
Hmm.
And when we are talking about calmness, so basically sometimes just to portray ourselves as a very emotional, mature person, we do not show our or express our feelings
Hmm.
uh, where it has to be expressed or
Right.
when it has to be expressed. The
Hmm.
suppressed thought and expression later becomes so toxic within us, and it is not possible for us to have a control over that.
Very true.
So it is not required. But again, I'm coming back to the question where it is better to react or to choose a
Do
better
better.
option.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it is always better to take a pause
Wow.
rather than reacting
Hmm.
or responding.
Hmm.
It is one particular
Hmm.
strategy which we can start developing in ourselves is to take a
Hmm. Hmm.
just stop or take a pause, think
Hmm.
about that for a second,
Hmm.
split
Hmm.
second, and
Hmm.
then start reacting or responding to it.
True.
What
True.
happens is this 1 second
Hmm.
will help you think rationally
True.
rather than throwing whatever immediate or impulsive reaction you're ready
Right.
with. It
Right.
will help you calm down and do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So coming back, I would like to work backwards. So we saw what is emotional immaturity. So now we know what is emotional maturity,
Right.
the antonym of all this or the opposite of all this, not
Right.
being a critic, not finding fault with others. We know, no, the good boy and the bad boy. I just
Very
told
true.
the bad thing. So now, yeah, now we know that what is emotional maturity. Now, how do we
Right.
develop this emotional maturity in us? So this we can do by practicing self-regulation. So
Hmm.
self-regulation, when we have self-regulation, self-awareness, all these are factors which will affect our emotional maturity.
Hmm.
So self-regulation to build in us, I think we have to have this practice of self-reflection, what
Hmm.
Darshini was speaking about.
Hmm. Hmm.
Reflecting on ourselves, what
True.
are we actually doing? You know, being
Hmm.
aware of what our actions, owning up to our actions, and
Hmm.
what are the implications of our actions in others' life and in our life. So the self-reflection would, to a great extent, help us in understanding where we need to work on.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
for that, we should develop something called as compassion and empathy.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
see, it is empathizing not just for others, but even for ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, am I being treated well?
Right.
Is my emotions
Hmm.
underrated, or am I
Hmm.
being taken for granted, or am I taking others for granted?
True.
Am I
True.
overlooking others? So, no,
Hmm.
whenever we are talking about compassion and uh, uh, talking about empathizing,
Hmm.
we have to look at it for ourselves and for others.
Hmm.
Most of the time, these words are connected to our behavior with regard to others,
True.
and we do not give importance to self.
Hmm.
So basically, when we start having compassion towards ourselves, we become a better person. We
Hmm.
start loving us, and we um, we put ourselves in others' shoes and try to think how I would have reacted in this particular situation, or is
Mm-hmm.
their reaction helping me or helping the person in a better way?
True.
So these are certain things which like working backwards for working on emotional maturity, we need to first work on self-regulation. To work on self-regulation, we have to uh, do a self-reflection on a
Right.
daily basis,
Right.
and then by compassion. So I have three strategies which would help people in doing the self-reflection. One was already listed by you, Abhijit, that is journaling. It's a
Journaling. Right.
wonderful, wonderful tool for self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So because you've spoken about journaling, I would just add on a subset to journaling.
Sure.
You could, being an educator, we have a strategy for classroom. Um, we can say that effective assessment strategies. In that,
Mm.
one of the tool we use is exit and entry and exit ticket.
Right.
So I was thinking, each one of us should use this entry ticket and exit ticket on a daily basis for us. So
Mm-hmm.
entry ticket is wherein we jot down what is that we are going to tackle today.
Right.
Okay, and towards the end of the day, coming back to the journal and checking if we could accomplish each of the entry tickets, one, two, and three. The list need not be too much. Just three things I would like to achieve, two things I would work on dedicatedly for most part of the day, and
Mm.
one I would try to bring in some change because all
Mm.
three are not possible. End
Mm.
of the day, did we achieve it?
Mm.
That is exit ticket. So
Right.
this way, journaling can become more meaningful, and
Mm.
every day you can see your change.
Mm.
The self-monitoring process will happen. So,
Right.
first strategy is self-monitoring.
Mm.
Second is mindfulness,
Mm.
which Darshini spoke about breathing techniques.
Mm.
We can work
True.
on the breathing techniques as one effective tool.
Mm.
Taking a conscious walk in the evening, even
Mm.
if it is not outside your house, on the road or park,
Mm-hmm.
even within the vicinity of your house, like maybe the balcony also will do. But this walk should be more of you being aware of what is happening around you, the
Mm-hmm.
chirping of the birds or the vehicle sound or the mild breeze or whatever it is. The aware walking with awareness will help us be mindful to a great extent. And then goal setting. The third point is the goal setting. Setting will help us look beyond what is happening on a day-to-day life. Like for example, if we have to face some um, like if we have to face some failures or we are being negatively criticized, if
Mm-hmm.
we have a larger goal in our mind, so we will not get disturbed because of these small failures or small
Mm.
negative punches we get through our way, because
True.
our goal is to reach to that. A major goal is not getting indulged in all this but
Mm.
working towards that. So I
Right.
think these three things will help us gain self-regulation. And like as Darshan said, it has to be worked on a regular basis, not just
Mm.
on one day or
True.
so. I would like to end here.
Surely, surely. I think Nisha, yeah, means this has been a kind of a journey for anybody who is starting to, understand what is emotional maturity. And I was really, what I can say, I was really awestruck in when you talked about, the pause. That is one of the most important part, the pause, how to take pauses. Because very few of us don't know the art of pausing before, when we say about reacting and responding. But I think the pause has to be practiced in terms of how we are able to train our brains in terms of making that sustainability of emotions through expressions. Well, what I talked about earlier, because your emotions are not to be solved; it has to be expressed in a
Exactly.
healthy and safe environment.
Yeah.
We usually say that I have to feel emotionless. That is not going to happen. If you're a human, if you're pulsating with heartbeat and all other things are working, if you're observing and you're alive, you will feel all the emotions. There won't be exceptions. You would feel,
Yeah, and
yeah,
if you're not correct. If you're not expressing your emotions, then you're not being genuine to yourself.
True.
So being
True.
authentic as a
Hmm.
person is very important
True.
than any other value you
Hmm.
can pursue.
Hmm. No, but when we see at emotion expression, we always see that there would be a person on which I would just unload all my
Explosive.
emotions. Okay.
Correct,
But
correct.
we never see emotions as something that we can, express in terms of the healthy environment that we talked about. Like one of them was journaling, that you rightly
Yes,
said. Second was
yes,
mindfulness.
yes,
Because if you are not giving that space to yourself, definitely that is going to implode inside, and that implosion is going to create all the illnesses that you have already maybe lined up for yourself when you have a constant compression of your emotions.
yes,
And emotion has their wonderful way of putting themselves into weird places. Like you might have
yes,
seen yourself when you cross a certain kind of age limit, there would be a threshold, there would be
yes,
a capacity of you of accepting those kind of emotion. And this is where in professional environment also burnout, you can see them, you can see a lot of
very
burnout that are
true.
happening in
Very,
midlife careers. It's just because we are not able to put ourselves into the environments which are safer for expression.
very true,
We are not
Abhijit.
creating that space, and
Uh,
that space is journaling, that
yes,
space is mindfulness, that space are even talking to a coach or a counselor. That is one thing that you can do, because I think emotion expression has to be done in a psychological safe environment which is non-judgmental. That is also very important, because it's
very
like
true,
it has to be
Abhijit.
it has to be like a mirror rather than criticizing someone. And
Very
that's
true,
where you
Abhijit.
put it into a pause, because pause would always give you that kind of a technique where you can feel it, name it, and tame it. So it is like FNMT. So
Yeah,
FMT, what you can practice more. And you said
yes,
it rightly. There's definitely there are other techniques, the same techniques that are there. And that you
yes.
can do is feel it by just expressing psychosomatic exercises, then name it as we can understand what kind of emotions that I am feeling right now. Sometime it is not anger, it is embarrassment. Embarrassment will lead to
Very true.
anger. It is
Anger.
not anger at first. Anger is just an surface level expression.
Yes,
Shame is also a surface level expression, not surface level, but a very deep emotion. But it has came to because of a lot of dialogues that was
yes,
there, a lot
yes,
of residual emotions that were there into your mind, because of which shame has come in.
yes,
So as Darshini said, that you have to have a mental log,
yes,
what I'm thinking, what I'm talking to myself. If those moments are not being reflected back, you are on a joyride of ego.
yes,
Because
yes,
ego identity is only in terms of how things are happening. That is what is
yes,
there. All right.
yes.
So great. So I think Nisha, you have put it
Yeah,
so well.
yes.
If there is
Thank
anything
you,
to add,
Abhijit.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to add a small
Yeah,
feature to this.
yeah.
Like, I happened to read in it many years back. So every person has this, has this criminal side to it. I am not sure about
The
how
shadow
much of,
side.
yeah. The thing is, like,
Yeah.
each and every person
Hmm.
has the ability or
Hmm.
no is capable of doing the worst crime possible which we can think of.
Truly.
Just it is all only a matter of second. Like
Hmm.
if you are able to tame yourself, just like you said, a pause can give
Hmm.
the break to it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we see many crimes recently being reported. It is all because of the fast-moving trend, and people do not even have time to talk to each other, communicate with each other,
Hmm.
share their emotions.
Hmm.
One small example which we did in our school as a teacher a few years back was when two children were fighting very badly, big boys, adults.
Hmm.
So the task I had given them was sit separately and write what you feel like doing to him.
Hmm.
Okay, you
Hmm.
want to punch him, you want to smash him, whatever
Hmm.
it is, you just
Hmm.
write everything.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they sat and they were not willing to write, but after some
Hmm.
time they started writing.
Hmm.
After the end of the activity, I exchanged the letters to each other. And they started reading and laughing so much about those what they wanted to do to each other. They forgot the reason why they fought. See, this is, as you said, it is more of an embarrassment, or at that point of time, it that is there in our mind. But if you take a
True.
pause, it's no more.
Right.
The effectiveness of it reduces.
Hmm. Mm.
So it is journaling will do that to you. You read your own journal and you
Right.
feel, okay, am I the same person who wrote this
Yeah,
last
true.
week?
You have pointed out a very beautiful technique that has been into a lot of meditation with Osho has imported induced into dynamic meditation. It is called as constructive Catholicism.
Hmm.
So when you're doing this example that you have talked about of journaling and talking about what I want to do with him on a piece of paper
Yeah,
was a constructive Catholicism.
yeah,
Because, or the second thing that you can do is you can punch to a pillow or you can shout out loudly.
yeah,
You can, have that outlet, but in a safer way. It's a
yeah,
constructive one because you are not
yeah,
harming anybody.
yeah,
So if you are not doing that, because as as teenagers, we used to have a lot of physical, we have a body mind connection, a very
yeah,
intimate connection,
correct.
which through our life in our adulthood and with a lot of things that we are handling roles, and we tend to identify ourselves with certain role. We don't even dance, laugh, or even
Yeah,
share things because we
yeah.
think that, Arey, I am an HR senior manager, why I'm supposed to do this kind of goofy thing, why I'm
Many
supposed to
houses being Father's Day today, they don't even want to hug their
yeah,
father. It is
right,
such a no
right,
Indian
right.
Indian kids hugging father is something like
Yeah.
it's not a normal thing.
Yeah, now
So
it
yeah,
has become so kind of an alpha male
yeah,
kind of an image that if you show an emotion, it is already related to weakness. Wherein
very true.
emotion is an enrichment of your life. The emotion gives you flavor to your life.
Yeah,
And if you're an alpha male, it is a bland world. It is a bland, sharp, what I can say. It is a very
yeah,
contrast world that you're living into.
mm,
And this is where self-talk, as you said rightly, there are techniques of journaling, constructive catharsis has to be done, and this is how things can be reflected to you back, because I think once you see your true self, as you said rightly, there is always a criminal in your front in your mind, but if you know him, you know that he can't control you. But if you don't know him, you will be afraid or you would be overpowered by it. That is what brings to that particular understanding. So, Nisha, I would say it's a very beautifully wrapped how emotional maturity has to be there and
thank you.
what things have to be there. So thank you so much for imparting. And I'm just going to jump to Edwin because Edwin is there and he has been busy in a lot many calls. Then also he had made to this particular session. I'm really thankful to you, Edwin. And and I always admire his the way of positivity he carry. That is what I really liked about Edwin, and that is one question that I always want to ask Edwin, that how you stay so calm when when your ego triggers. Okay, that is one thing. So one question that I want to ask is, what is the workplace ego triggers and how to unlearn that pattern? That is the first question that I want to ask to Edwin. So Edwin, welcome over on board.
Thank you, Abhijit, and the esteemed panel. I miss what they have talked, but I can vouch they were talked with great insights from their life instances, and
Definitely.
that's a learning for every one of us, because their story, they are the great channel to tell about their own stories. So
Right.
congratulations to both Nisha ma'am and Dharshani ma'am for this collaboration and for bringing all is in this platform. That's thanks to Abhijit. So see, issue is you always start like an HR. That doesn't go out. Okay, so
Right.
to answering to your question is like in a workplace we often wear our own roles like armor.
True. Very
So
true. Beautiful.
so the
Hmm.
ego sneaks in, and it's not with a roar or something, but it's like a small whisper in your ears. It is saying like, I must win, I must be right.
True. Hmm.
And then I'll take a reference from the Bible. uh,
Hmm.
in Bible there's a reference in Proverbs 16 verse 18, which says, pride goes before destruction, and
Hmm.
haughty spirit before a fall. So
Hmm.
across my journey, across from like IT corridors to Glassdoor, non-profits, I've learned that ego is a very silent virus that
Hmm.
erodes the trust,
Hmm.
uh, detaches empathy,
Hmm.
and blocks the learning.
Hmm. True. Very true. So how you got this particular, I think it was very well said that what happens first and what happens last, which enters first and what erodes all other things. So when it comes to, common ego games in leadership and teamwork, what I want to ask you as an HR, we know that what kind of things is there. And you said rightly, we take our role as an armor and whatever, and we don't take our role as a duty and responsibility. We don't take our role as a sword. Okay, we have to actually cut down the problems rather than we just take it as an armor. Okay, we just have to deflate certain things, we have to distract certain thing, or we have to protect our egos under beneath that particular part. So very rightly said. But what are the common ego games that you have seen to leadership, which actually infuels the triggers that are there?
See, I'll take it like workplace movements where
Hmm.
there is triggering, and then
Hmm.
what would be the expected reactions? How do we react to that, and how do we iterate it? How do we say it across?
Hmm.
So, for
Hmm.
example, if there is a discussion in a project or something, then you have a junior person suggesting a great idea.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
our ego is hurt and we'll be like dismissive and we will say only I have the answers, he is not supposed to give us great answers. So we
True.
block that person's growth, and then
Hmm.
that person feels very shy out to respond to any question because we have broken his confidence over there.
True. Hmm.
And then if somebody else gets a recognition for something which they have not done or they have done,
Hmm.
let's not go into that debate, but if
Hmm.
somebody gets a recognition, then we are like in the back of our mind, like uh, we might look at gossiping, or we might look
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
how jealous we might be, like. And
Hmm.
then the question what we will like, why not me?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And then during your performance appraisals, it will be like feedbacks during the reviews, either defensive or blaming.
Right.
I'm never wrong, that's the statement everyone gives, like.
True.
And then if there is a case of like project delegations or something to that, then we are looking at like micromanagement, and then like if I don't do it, then it will fall or it will fail.
True.
That's the
Right.
anchoring we have. And
Hmm.
like we both always discuss, it's like these statements are okay, but we need to take inferences from our Bollywood movies. So I'll take it like the movie Guru. So
Hmm.
it's a journey from like ambitions to arrogance and the transformation of ego through adversity. See,
Hmm.
he wanted to do something good, he did, but then the arrogance, like mere upar aur kaun hai. That's
Hmm.
the attitude which Abhishek Bachchan comes in when he has grown over a period of time,
Hmm.
and it's about hurting his own ego and then burning the bridges.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then you have like Rocket Singh, salesman of the year. So egoless leadership and values in a cut throat environment, because see, he didn't want to do something wrong. So he
Hmm.
writes a letter to the entity where he was selling, saying
Hmm.
this guy was asking for a corruption, and then he was being tormented because his ethos were right.
True.
Then you have Three Idiots, where the ecosystem of the education system is challenged because
Hmm.
of vulnerability and curiosity. So,
True.
are do we want to produce all ranchos, or do
Hmm.
we want to produce the other guy
Another guy
is,
who was suicides.
who yeah. So
Hmm.
that's the train to it. And then we also look at like Chak De India, where
Hmm.
the start of the session when Shah Rukh Khan comes on board as the coach, he says he looks at the collective glory. So he says
Hmm.
you are not playing for yourself, but you are playing
Hmm.
for India. So that
Hmm.
brings the transformation, looking
Hmm.
at like it's not about singularity, it's about
Hmm.
plural, it's about
Hmm.
the country. So it's like
Hmm.
overcoming ego with collective glory.
Hmm.
And then another best example I can cite from a movie is about Tare Zameen Par.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the child is a special child, and we don't look at them with embracing that changes and that out of the box thinking in them.
Hmm.
So how ego blinds us at emotion needs. So
Hmm.
that's also to look at. So what I'll say is like ego does not does not just block teamwork, it blocks the transformation.
True. Very true. So when we say transformation, I think transformation again is a synonym to trust. If you trust something, you transform. And ego is something that I want everything, none of them matters. And I think it is where, as you said rightly, that I am right. my position is always right in this particular part where we are using our title as an armor, and then we go with that particular part. So when we see this, the kind of delusion that has been created. So how you see yourself, or how you categorize awareness versus reaction, or creating a space between impulse and action. We already have covered that into our past, but I want to get your take when it comes to awareness versus reaction.
See, before deep diving into that thought process, I think we also need to understand
Hmm.
what's the invisible cost to ego. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
undetermined collaboration, stiff innovation,
True. Hmm. Hmm.
psychology safety is getting a toll. Then,
Hmm. Hmm.
silent
Hmm.
resignations or
Hmm.
attrition, and then
Hmm.
a passive and aggressive work culture. So, see, ego has to be there. I'm not saying
Hmm.
it not to be there. It has to be a positive ego
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
there's a learning and collaborations happening across. So
Hmm.
if there is an unchecked ego, then
Hmm.
it breeds high performance only on the paper,
True.
but on reality it's a low moral. So
Hmm.
here I would like to take references of like Moneyball movie
Hmm.
and the pursuit of happiness. So
Hmm.
Moneyball, we are letting go of old scouting methods, and we are looking at favoring data and trust.
Hmm.
In pursuit of happiness, we are looking at like humility, perseverance, and emotional maturity under pressure.
Hmm.
Another best example I can give is MS Dhoni, the untold story, Captain Cool.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, see, it's not how you act, but it's how you react to any situation in an
Hmm.
ego
Hmm.
clash. And I
Hmm.
think last session also we put some pointers on the parent, adult, and child
Child
model.
side model, right? Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we did. So to answer to your awareness and reaction is like.
Hmm.
I'll take a biblical reference of James 1 verse 19. It says, be quick to listen,
Hmm.
slow to speak,
Speak.
and
Hmm.
slow to become angry.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we take from there the 3P principle.
Hmm.
So pause, progress, and pick. So
Right.
we pause, so we take a deep breath, we
Hmm.
delay the emotional impulse. Like
Hmm.
Nisha ma'am had told, the two
Hmm.
kids were fighting, they don't know what they were fighting for when they started journaling it across. So if we delay the reaction time,
Reaction
half
time.
of the problem is sorted across.
True.
Because
True.
in that spur of a moment, you might
Hmm.
think like killing the person or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
We are not advocating anything of that sort over here. We are taking it, take a deep breath,
Hmm.
relax, and
Hmm.
have a controlled emotion.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the next thing is like the
Hmm.
process. So
Hmm.
how do you ask, how do you drive it, how do you
Right.
channelize those
Hmm.
emotions? See, when we
Hmm.
look at 80s and 90s and the
Hmm.
2000, we as kids had a lot of
Hmm.
physical activity, so we channelize that emotion
Energy,
across.
right? Right. Right.
And
Hmm.
I'm not against the government, but see, we had a thought process like हम दो हमारे एक. Now मैं तेरा बच्चा तू मेरा बच्चा, there's no need of kids. That's the culture we are bringing. So
Right.
we come from a generation where we have been part of a bigger family,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
closed circle of family. So
Hmm.
being a big family, it's about
Hmm.
helping each other,
Hmm.
responding to them, respecting
Hmm.
them. So
Hmm.
the governance part and the management part comes in across very well. And when
Hmm.
you have a single child, there's a lot of tantrums being there, and we as parents not giving them the right time to them. So that's a fault at
Hmm.
our end
Hmm.
also.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the third would be the pick. So
Hmm.
choose a valued, aligned, growth oriented response. See,
Hmm.
if we want to fight, we can fight, but not
Hmm.
every war is one for, and we need to
Hmm.
choose what to fight for.
Hmm.
Another thing is like all the great people, like even Buddha, Jesus, everyone, they were accused and misunderstood. So what they
Hmm.
did was often paused. They
Hmm.
responded with silence or
Hmm.
question rather than reacting
Hmm.
with ego. So it's
Hmm.
how what stance we look at it across.
Right.
So the
Right.
3P's:
Hmm.
pause, progress, and pick.
Pick. Very well, very well. And this has thing is like really got to me the golden ratio of communication skill. Like what is the ratio of communication? So we naturally we are divided. Our entire sensory organ is divided into two ears, two eyes, and one mouth. So you have to always double up how much you observe, always double up how much you listen, and always minus it by only one time. So that was very well put. The three P's and the golden proportion of your entire sensory always pointed towards that listening is something. Listening and observing comes to us very naturally. And we are into that particular realm, as you rightly said. We are more of, in controlling the argument rather than listening to the other person, and in controlling the argument in terms of win or lose, or most of the time is the win. So yeah, definitely these three P's are going to be the fundamental when it comes to, when we are seeing the triggers that are there. The triggers are already, we already have triggers. As Nisha rightly said, that we already have a criminal part to ourselves. The only thing matter is that how much, it is a very beautiful example that is given, that are you, at the edge of the cliff, or you are away of the cliff? By negative thinking, you every day you're progressing toward the edge of the cliff. And the person who is constantly thinking negative, he's already standing on the edge of the cliff. The only one push that is required for him to topple down into the valley of crime, or reaction, or violence. So the only thing that we have to do is we have to step back from the cliff. And that would happen by through reflection, by taking the pause, by not engaging into thoughts which are not productive for us. So that was a very good and a crisp kind of a wrap up, Edwin. Thank you so much for that. And as we have already passed our conversation time, so I will just cut short this particular section, because I think our listeners are there from past 1 hour 15 minutes. So we'll just have a wrap of 30 seconds from each panel member about what is your take on today's topic, the ego detox and soul upgrade. So I want a 30-second wrap from Nisha about your section, and then I will come to Edwin. I think Dharshani has some problems, so she has to leave. So yes, we can have a wrap with Nisha, and then we can go to Edwin.
Thank you, Abhijit. I like the way Indwin attached each of his
The
point
movies.
to a movie.
Right.
Yeah, you must be a great storyteller. It was really good. Okay, my 30-second wrap for this session would be like identifying the emotional immaturity in you by doing self-regulation practice. Like uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would start by saying, do a self-reflection test on a daily basis. Identify your areas of self-regulation. By doing a continuous, by working on it continuously, you will be able to develop emotional maturity. So,
Great.
the three strategies we listed down here for self reflection would be uh, awareness, being mindful of what you do, list it down if possible by journaling that. And the second would be self monitoring. Not only that you journal, but go back to your journal and check how much you have progressed over the day in what you have planned to pursue. And the third would be a larger goal setting in life, which could, which could help you look at these minor, um, um, what to say, the obstacles in life at a minor level itself, not
Sure.
aggravating or giving unnecessary build up to it. Thank you,
Sure.
Archit.
Thank you so much, Nisha. That was really crisp. Yes, Edwin, you are 30 seconds.
HR के पास crisp answer नहीं रहते हैं.
Neither.
Okay, so first thing I'll put is like we need to encourage everyone to journal and reflect what Nisha ma'am could tell. That's very valid point, and how we can put a chart out saying like what is the triggered situation, what is the emotion we felt, what's the ego pattern in that, and how we can reframe it to look at a growth perspective. So we reiterate, we do, I'll say like we do a root cause analysis to understand what is the situation, emotion, pattern, and how do we correct it across. So and it has to be kept very private, honest, and spiritual oriented, because this is your self leadership or self actualization journey. Because I like I always say, we connect it to the Maslow's theory. How do we take it to the next level? And the thing is like, before we react, I think we need to ask ourselves, is this movement about proving my power or practicing our presence? So
True.
ego is always like it thrives on proving it across.
Hmm.
Ye kar diya hai, wo kar diya hai,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of things to say. But
Hmm.
the growth thrives on pausing and then reflecting our stance on that. So my one
Hmm.
sentence will be like, ego demands
Hmm.
claps, but
Hmm.
soul demands your alignment. So
Hmm.
from where are you thinking? That's what
True.
defines our own self.
True. True. Great, Edwin. That was a really crisp. And being HR, then also it was crisp. And thank you so much for that. I would just wrap up what Darshini has said. She was talking about different aspects about how the mindset, the self-talk that we are, unmonitored self-talk that we have, that actually pushing us towards the edge. That is one thing. Then the layer of identity that we have. What kind of layer identity that we have, which identity we latch on to feel ourselves safe. That was something Darshini has pointed out, and definitely through reflections and questions and identifying our roles, separating our the values from our roles can be one of the greatest reflection about how to not feed our egos, how not to make our egos more powerful than what they are right now. So it is just like feeding the black and the white wolf. Ego is being, but I don't see that we have to kill the black wolf totally. That is one thing. It is a balance. It's a yin and yang. It is something that you have to balance it out, because ego is also required and your calmness is also required. You can't totally kill that particular part. You can regulate it and control it, and we can steer it to a direction which is constructive. So ego detox isn't one time event that I want to talk to everybody. It's like a daily audit that you have to do. We don't need less of ourselves. We don't require to cut down ourselves in this particular audit. We just have to see what is the real self is there. Okay. So with that message, I want all the listeners, whoever are going to listen this particular, coaching levels sessions in future as well. You can join us on a different level. Whichever coaching techniques resonated with you can already get in touch with the coach. They are already available on LinkedIn in all my talks in this particular event as well. You can directly connect with them and you can have your personal journey, as Edwin said. That is a self-realization journey that can be started as soon as possible. So join us for the next week for our final episode of this series of High Battleground Room. And we are going to see how to write your warrior code. Until then, stay curious, stay grounded. Thank you for joining and have a great weekend. Weekend is already there. Have a great week ahead. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Vijit.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.